Okay, we are ready.
Okay. Welcome to the March 24th, 2025 meeting of the Land Use and Waterfront Committee. My name is Dave Terzo and I'm the Vice Chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 6:32 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last name displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Okay, and Alec has volunteered to take minutes tonight. And we will now take attendance by roll call. Brendan will conduct the roll call.
Committee members, I will call your names. Your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Majid Abdul Samad.
Present.
Okay. Tanya Arias.
Present.
Victoria Benatar.
Present.
Jim Collins.
Here.
Maya Donahue.
Present.
Alec Militek.
Present.
Rich Mintz. I don't see. Larry Shire.
Present.
Sandra Sherrod.
Present.
Letty Simon.
Present.
Susan Steinberg.
Present.
Mark Thompson.
Present.
Gabe Terzo.
Present.
And James Vera.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time with one exception. Agenda item number 6, which is a late addition. If there is no objection, we would adopt the agenda as amended. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda as amended, please raise your hand. Okay. The agenda is adopted. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is amended, is adopted. The minutes from the February 24th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, Chair, as is Susan.
I don't object, but I'm just making a small correction. With all due respect, Jim, there's no such thing as a design correct. It's a design charrette. Charrette.
Yes.
We could just make that, it's on
Did
the,
I write it?
you did, somebody
I
wrote
wrote the minutes?
Yeah, Larry also mentioned this as a correction. And one other.
I thought it was shawarma.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. I just had some. That's just great.
And there's one other correction that I know you had mentioned to me, Larry, which I currently have on screen. Just a slight addition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wrong side of the tree.
That's the correction. Okay, perfect. So. Seeing no further objections, we will adopt the minutes as amended. Okay. Let's set some ground rules. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe the following ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speaks at a time, so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topic. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties that you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud during the meeting. Okay. We will begin our agenda. Agenda item number 1, updates from the New York City Economic Development Corporation projects in Manhattan Community District 6. So I'm gonna hand over the floor.
All the slides from.
I can do it there. I'm gonna share my screen.
You guys want this? And do you wanna sit here at the table and do it?
Okay.
You can stand. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Diana Sweet. I'm the Vice President in EDC's Government and Community Relations Division. I'm joined by my colleague Ben, also from Government and Community Relations, and we have a couple of our colleagues online this evening. We're here for a handful of items. First, we have an update on Spark. We have a status update now that it's been through ULURP. We have an overview of the points of agreement. And we have a handful of updates on a number of our waterfront assets along the waterfront and also the Skyport Marina. So first on Spark, we are happy to say that the Spark ULURP application was approved by the City Council on February 13th. It had 47 yes votes, 1 abstention, and 0 no votes. Design efforts on the Spark project are continuing. Skanska has been brought on as the construction manager for phase 1 of the project. As I mentioned earlier, points of agreement document was signed with Councilmember Powers. That's something we're going to walk through in more detail in a moment. The phase 2 RFP, that's for the private life sciences portion of the project. We expect to be out by the end of the year. And I'll also mention the Spark Community Task Force is still ongoing. We don't have a date yet for the upcoming meeting, but I wanted to make sure to mention that as we go along in the process, there are going to be more opportunities for additional community task force meetings. So that's something that we'll keep the board apprised of as we move along. And I'll turn it over to Ben to walk through the POA items.
Sure. So this POA was put together in collaboration with Councilmember Powers, close to the ULURP vote on February 13th. We've briefed Sandy and Majed on this, but wanted to kind of show all of you all of the different kind of items and commitments that the city has made to give back to CV6 through this project. So we are going to continue to convene the Kips Bay Science District Education and Workforce Task Force, which was convened during the early stages of the Innovation East and Spark projects and continued on throughout their development and came up with a set of recommendations that they'll continue to meet on and ensure that they're being carried out. There'll be $100,000 of annual funding coming from EDC from 2025 to 2030 for educational programming for K-8 students in Kips Bay. There'll be 30 additional pre-K seats at existing programs in the 10009 zip code. And union labor will be used for maintenance of the privately built out life science facility at Spark. We are committing to ensuring that the design principles that the Spark Task Force, which CV6 co-chaired, will be incorporated into the design of the phase 2 RFP, which is the privately built out life sciences portion of the project. And we will maintain public access to Bellevue Garden, which will include new signage that will display operating hours of the park. Moving on to Waterfront, and we'll talk more about this. Yeah.
We had a meeting last month or 2 months ago. We discussed the fact that, pardon me? We discussed the possibility that there would be overlap between the Spark construction site and Innovation East construction site for at least, what was it, 1 construction quarter, you told me?
2 quarters.
1 or 2 quarters. And we had some concern, and actually we have a resolution in draft with the Transportation Committee that would assess the traffic impact on that along First Avenue, particularly with respect to emergency vehicles headed north, since NYU Hospital and Bellevue are going to be the only two hospitals south of 59th Street and above Canal Street.
Did you say that's a resolution in draft? It hasn't been adopted yet? It's still being discussed?
I think last I heard it was, I wrote it, and it was with transportation.
Yeah, I'm just asking because that's really helpful to know. Obviously, transportation impacts during construction and other construction impacts have been a big concern, and we've been discussing them a lot. So particularly as Skanska, the construction manager, is now on board, it's really helpful to get that feedback as we're, getting started and making these plans. So when that resolution is adopted, we'll review it internally. We'll share it with our construction manager. We'll work with the Innovation East team and, continue discussing and see what we can incorporate in the drafts.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So I started out with the $53 million commitment to working on the East Midtown waterfront substructure. We're gonna go over that in detail in the next couple of slides after this one, as well as for the new public open space at East 34th Street. There was also a commitment to continue funding Solar One through FY 31, which includes $750,000 in operating expenses and $2.2 million in capital funding. For housing, commitment to the replacement of the Brookdale dorms, which we've gone over with the board. And then also a commitment from the city to develop a housing plan with CD6, Councilmember Powers, and the Department of City Planning. And then the last few are just reserving some of the food and beverage space in the life sciences building, and then taking in that suggestion from Community Board 6 about ensuring that it's lively, open late hours. So ensuring that we're going to take that into account. There was a reduction of on-site parking at Spark, and then the potential relocation of CV6 office space. I know this is something that we've talked closely with the board and you all are discussing internally, but that did make it onto the document and something that we're continue to be open to exploring. And then in just ensuring that Spark is designed to maximize efficiency, and ensuring that it's good for the environment and green wherever possible.
So with that, we're going to turn it over to a couple of our colleagues. I don't know if they need to be moved over as panelists. We have Jessica Greenspan and Gregory Dixon.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Jess Greenspan. I am an AVP on the Waterfront Design and Construction team in the Asset Management Department at EDC. And I am managing the East Midtown substructure project. So this is just giving you location reference. The project site stretches from the former Water Club restaurant site all the way up to the parking lot north of the heliport. Next slide, please. Or am I controlling this? Okay, cool. So just a high-level overview of the project. We are doing substructure repairs, like I said, along that waterfront. This is just giving a little bit more detail of all of the structures there. So the conditions there that necessitate these structures or these repairs are widespread deterioration of the piles due to marine borer activity. So a lot of the timber braces are missing or deteriorated, and there are also sinkholes along the marginal roadway that require repair right now. So the scope is pile repairs, patch repairs, and the sinkhole repairs. right now, the tentative timeline is that the substructure work will start by the end of this year, 2025, and will be complete by the spring of 2027. As mentioned, the funding for this project is roughly $53 million. And just a note on the actual work, the roadway will remain active for all of the sinkhole repairs. And all of the substructure repairs is going to be done by divers via barges, meaning that it's going to be done completely from the water. This work will also be done in phases, so we are starting with the most critical repairs. If you go to the next slide, this is just more detail on where we think there are some life safety concerns, and this will be the first phase of the project, and it's in that red rectangle, so it is some piles underneath the heliport mostly, and the parking lot north of that. So as I mentioned, sinkholes, and then the substructure there, the piles are severely corroded. So urgent repairs are needed to maintain the integrity of those bridge structures. And then you can just see some pictures here on the right, and on the next slide also, we can see some deterioration of these piles if you wanted to see underwater piles. Next slide, please. And just to keep it really broad for the open space right now, NYU has been notified to vacate the site, and that vacate notice and that lease is managed by DCAS. EDC Asset Management was not involved in that. We are solely managing the construction portion of that project. And we will return to CB6 in the coming months with Parks, who is the owner of this project, for a more substantive update.
Greg, do we have you on as well?
I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Dixon. I'm the Vice President for the Design and Construction Team, Waterfront. Also managing a project here in Manhattan Skyport Marina. Currently, we are in works for permitting and actively seeking approvals from both the state and federal for doing substructure work. But Diana, if we can go to the next slide, I'll just give a quick update about the scope and schedule. So thank you. Yeah, so we're going to be doing repairs to the parking garage, doing different spall repairs, also work to the marina and walkway, also to the floating docks, as well as to the seaplane. Most of the repairs are driven by similar defects as mentioned in the East 34th Street project, marine boar infestation, as well as damage from Hurricane Sandy. But generally, the project is to do maintenance repairs to keep the existing facility operational. Currently, we're set to start work in, at least for, excuse me, the parking garage in Q2 of 25, as well as for the marina work starting in Q3 to Q4 of 25. But still working on permits, but that is our, kind of current schedule. Next slide, or I think, Diana, that's it for Skyport. Here's some pictures of the area. But yeah, thank you.
I think we're happy to answer any questions or have any discussion that folks would like.
Larry.
Hi, with regard to the marina and parking garage project, I assume that you are going to be talking to the existing tenants, both boat owners and parkers in the garage as to temporary relocation? Will any of them be evicted during that construction period?
Nobody will be evicted. We are working with the operator for any relocations for vessels that will be discussed and finalized as we get closer to construction. But we have been in contact with New York Waterways about that. As for the notice to the individuals using the parking garage, we will be putting up signage and working with the parking facility as well to move around people, but they will also be given notice before any of the work is started. But most of the repairs, at least for the parking garage, will be done in phases. So the entire facility should remain operational. So no major disruptions.
During a prior meeting, I had made a suggestion regarding improving the internal circulation in the marina by having floating docks available inside the bulkhead so that the guests for the party boats won't be blocking the bike and walking path on the upland. In addition to that, it's been mentioned with respect to the garage that the elevator was in need of replacement or a major upgrade.
Sure. So for the elevator, we are working on doing an inspection and then starting a capital project for that one. So that is underway. As for the queuing station into the bike lane area, we technically don't have authorization to that property, but we did discuss this. But happy to get back to you further about the kind of current queuing situation and general alignment of the floating docks. But these have been discussed with our operator and yeah, so thank you.
And I wanted to thank you for including so many things that we have asked about over the last year. We don't take it for granted. It's been a very fruitful relationship. A question about developing a housing plan. Is there any degree of granularity that you could include with that, or at the moment, or?
Yeah, I think the plan there was for DCP to start a conversation with CB6 on that plan. So I know that's something that had been kind of discussed with the board and with DCP as we were going through this process. And there was a preference from DCP to kind of manage that relationship with the board. So would definitely suggest we're happy to continue to push DCP, but if you all want to reach out to them as well, I think they'd be happy to start a conversation.
Yeah, and I would say in the wake of the ULURP approval, people's focus is being redirected, particularly with its inclusion in the POA of getting started on that conversation. And I'll also mention that we're returning in April to further discuss the POA. So we'll try to see if we could get a better update for you all by then. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
I was just gonna ask, I'm not sure if this is the same group that's working on the Greenway. Do we have any information on which point or extending the Greenway?
Yeah,
42nd Street.
I know that the Pinch Point project, we were asking some colleagues today, and that's actually a DDC project and not EDC. I think DDC and Parks, with DDC as the lead. But I don't know, I think we don't really have an update on the Greenway is the short answer. We don't have the project team with us, but yeah, I don't think there's been any updates since you all discussed like last time.
What about the lighting with us at the full board meeting, the lighting there?
Oh, that's state DOT.
Oh.
Sorry,
along the Patrick J. Brown Walk.
Oh, that's city DOT, actually. I've been in touch with city DOT about that.
Okay, I was talking about different lighting.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
talking about further up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This is adjacent to the pinch point we're talking.
Got it. Yeah, it sounds like while the pinch point is not us, it sounds like our colleague Tara might have sent some, the right contact information at DDC. So if you still need that, we're happy to get it to you, but if you haven't reached out to DDC yet, I would.
Okay, Jim, you had a question?
Contact there, we provided, any updates to, the land use committee, we'll bump those up. There probably isn't gonna be any update on that for some time, so every few months we'll be checking in.
Hey, Jim.
With respect to the imminent closing of Mount Sinai Beth Israel, do we have any concept at EDC of what would happen with that space? Has it been considered or addressed, particularly as part of the housing issue?
It hasn't internally, happy to ask around, but yeah.
Maya, then Majay.
Okay, I had a question as far as the repairs that you're doing to the, how's that is holding up the dock and everything that are, you mentioned the Superstorm Sandy was also contributory to this. Are you doing anything new to have environmental concerns as far as climate change and what we will be facing in the future?
Yeah, Jessica, did you hear the question?
Sorry. No, I thought that was for someone else. Could you repeat it? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. As far as the improvements that you're doing to the posts that are holding up the docks and everything, part of what you said was Superstorm Sandy was contributory to some of the damage, and I was wondering if you have, or the city has any idea or implementation on how to be more preventative in the future instead of just like replacing it, band-aiding.
Yeah, sorry, Jess, that's for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the docks. The piles are being extended. So essentially this will allow us, if there is a higher storm surge, that there won't be any overtopping. That's the main risk that happens when there is any type of storm surge with these type of marinas. We're doing similar resiliency work actually at East 34th Street, a project being led by Jess, where we are also raising the piles at East 34th Street and extending them. So that is just some like kind of operational enhancements that we're doing to protect the city's infrastructure. If that answers your question.
Second, Majed online.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I have a comment. I want to reiterate what Gabe said. First, thanking you all. I know this is a lot of work went into this. Maybe some community members are not as involved in every prep meeting that happens in the background. So Ben, everybody really at the Gigi, everybody at the EDC team, thank you. And I'm going to use this to ask that moving forward, there's a lot still to be done. You're all very welcome at the committee to come even before plans are formulated, just to engage with folks. And we are carrying this message to the full board to convince, well, share to others, act as a bridge that there's discussions to be had here. We're not just being told what's happening, but we're being actively engaged. So thank you again. It's very exciting. We really appreciate all the effort.
And then Larry, one more quick question.
Yes, in the area that we're looking at near the Water Club and on up to the heliport, is there any concept that's being discussed right now in raising the elevation as the city has done at East River Park, so that we're not going to have an overtopping by the next storm event?
No conversations on that as far as I know. If you mean the elevation on the piles, those are being repaired for, I think, a 20-year useful life, taking into account climate change, sea level rise. But no other plans beyond that.
So they're not going to be overtopped by 10 feet of water the next time we have a storm surge, you're saying?
Right, they are taking into account a certain threshold of sea level rise. I would have to double check. I can get that to you if you want the more specifics.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, I think we got all the questions. Any additional questions from anybody? No.
I see there are questions in the Q&A.
We do. Okay, we have a quick question about when will when will solar 2 be completed? I think that's a fair question, when that work will be done there. Do you have any information on that?
I know we're getting close. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but we'll make sure to get that for you.
And so just regarding solar, we want to know, people are concerned that you still can't get through on the waterfront there, and if there was any way to at least allow people to pass by during those final stages.
Just directly on that, it would be helpful if you had a sign directing people that it's a dead end. If you go past the last exit before Solar One, the construction site is basically a dead end, but the pathway leading up to it is still open. So signage there would be helpful.
And then we have one additional question online. Just about the geotechnical specs, is there a reason the sinkhole situation is happening, and is there plans to deal with it going forward?
Yes, that area was fully surveyed. The sinkholes are actually on the marginal roadway, like the exit ramp of the FDR. So that's the location.
Okay. James.
Regarding the vacate order for the parking lot with NYU, is that permanent, or would they be returning after repairs are made?
No, that's permanent.
Sandy.
Sorry, just wondering, is the water club paying for any of this work that's happening on the site that they vacated? I mean,
Like a former tenant.
the former.
Not to my knowledge. I think there were like some arrears when they were leaving, so I can't imagine that they're throwing in money in, but maybe I'm wrong.
Because wouldn't it be great if they actually did the repairs? It's an expensive project.
Yeah.
And I guess we also had questions about the barge.
Yeah.
For community, as part of the reimagining of this space. Do we know if it's going to be? We've heard yes and no, I think, both.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get through this substructure work. I think that's been occupying a lot of our focus, given, you saw the pictures of like how much there is and the life and safety work. And so that's still being formulated. I know that you guys as a board are talking about that even tonight. And so we're more than ears about preferences from the board.
Yeah, that's another one where while we are in this stage and focusing so much on substructure repair and infrastructure, if there are thoughts on the future uses, now is a very good time for us to get that input.
And will the existing buildings be demolished? Is that part of the plan, or do we know?
I think the thing that we can say is that it's like they've done preliminary analysis of what it would take to put in like a restaurant into that facility, and it's really, really tough, just given the like financials of putting in all new like utility work. A lot of it wasn't up to code. So there's a lot to work through there, but that's not necessarily to say like the structure can be used for another purpose or can't be retrofitted for a restaurant someday.
So but we do know there are utilities available that are code conforming.
I think like in a theoretical sense, but it would take a lot of work to get there.
Okay, I'm gonna take one more
Yeah,
question
yeah,
from the
sorry.
committee and then I'll recognize. the
Yeah.
public.
With respect to that barge, okay, the NOAA charts for the East River show the depth there to be about 25 feet. And James and I had discussed the possibility of perhaps, even since the barge is so old, I guess it's 50 years old, 60 years old, it would require, a full overhaul, the possibility of sinking it and building it as landfill if we could get the approval of the Army Corps. So that's a thought perhaps you might want to also consider. It's between, I think it's 20 to 25 feet. I don't remember, I sent you the chart.
Okay, we have one more member of the committee real quick, Tanya.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. Again, in regards to the barge, so it has been completely determined that the barge in and of itself is no longer usable, is that correct? Hello?
Oh, no, it's fine. I don't think any decision has been made right now.
So there's no decision on that barge yet? Okay, because
Yeah.
there seems to be a confusion whether it's going to be salvageable or not salvageable, and that's going to determine a lot of further decisions. When do you envision having, or are you in charge of making that decision? When is it going to be made?
I don't have that information right now, but happy to get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you had a question.
Yeah, I know, Solar One is there, but like in Yonkers, they have the science barge. And that was pretty much a clunker, that barge. So I'm wondering if the water club could become something like a science barge. It's, on the water, a little more interactive with the river, like the river keepers are involved, I think, also with the science barge in Yonkers. If there's something they could do, because that seems like it would be a great learning space and family space and bring more people to that area, and it'd be wonderful to, interact even more on the riverfront.
I believe there's one of those, a wet lab on the Hudson piers, which, I mean, it's seasonal, but I think it's very interesting. It could be more East River oriented, because that one's more Hudson River oriented if you were to go that route.
Yeah, would be the oysters, like Solar One is working on a lot of conservation programs that like the barge is, even further out there into the water, that it could be a really great resource. Even with the solar panels and,
Okay, we have sort of inadvertently already moved on to agenda item number 2. So I think if no further questions, we are going to wrap up agenda item number 1. Thank you guys again for all of your hard work.
Thank you all.
Okay, so agenda item number 2, continued discussion of the proposed public uses for the water club at 500 East 30th Street. I think we asked a lot of the relevant questions. I did want to say we are going to push back our reso for a month, and in order to have a public hearing, perhaps at the April full board meeting, we're going to invite the public to do one final round of input. Since we've already solicited input from the public online, I want to invite them to come speak at the meeting and to get one last round of public input before we craft our final resolution on that. And I want to open the floor to any further water club questions or comments while we're still here.
We should have a sign courage.
Okay. Moving on, agenda item number 3. Follow-up discussion of the final city council approval of Spark Kips Bay and the traffic impacts expected as a result of the new development. This is a resolution that was written, we have a resolution prepared that was written jointly with the Transportation Committee. This committee's already discussed it. But everyone was sent this earlier and I'm inviting anyone on the committee to make, comments or ask questions.
You notice there are my comments in there. And one thing I've never, I mean, we're still referring to as the BRT and could you go back to, maybe we just go through the comments.
Yeah, I'll also put it back at 100%, even if it's a little bit smaller for people at home for the moment.
So, I didn't understand this statement.
Which one?
I did, so it says healthcare corridor on First Avenue or on the streets east of it that run perpendicular from East 23rd Street to East 34th Street.
Isn't that where the Alexandria Center and
Yeah.
all of those are?
Yeah, or on the streets, I think it's kind of an awkward construction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it's not very descriptive.
Spark is being developed.
I mean, I think it's perfect. The meeting is communicated, I think, without mentioning the cross streets.
Yes.
Yes, I think
I
so.
agree.
So we just take that out.
So take the whereas out or?
No,
No, just.
or on the streets east of it that ran perpendicular from.
And you take everything out
Yeah.
after First Avenue.
Okay.
It's 34th Street.
Well,
No, it's addressing the facilities that run east or west on the side streets. It's not just along First
but you
Avenue.
don't have to.
Well, it says Spark is being
Right.
developed as
Yeah.
part of the existing First Avenue biotechnology and healthcare corridor on First Avenue, which will ultimately include, and the stuff that's listed below there is off to the right-hand side, off to the east of First
Yeah.
Avenue.
I mean,
I think it's close enough.
generally
Yeah, it's close.
colloquially accepted that First Avenue corridor,
Mhm.
it's in the
A few
neighborhood.
feet beyond First
Right,
Avenue.
well, we have a new project that's going up on the west side.
Innovation East,
Yes,
yeah.
It's on First Avenue.
That one's
The
on
entrances,
First
yeah.
Yeah.
and this is good.
And then the New York City Poison Center is actually being eliminated. I mean, it won't be there once Innovation East is built, so we should take that out.
Yeah, like, like Battalion 8 is on First Avenue, on Second. Battalion 8's on 26th Street. Or it would be 26th, it was strong.
I think we can approve that.
Yeah, just, yeah, an article.
I think these all seem quite, these next couple all seem
Yeah.
quite simple, quite straightforward.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can replace, BMT and RIT lines with MTA subway stations.
Stations, or actually, are we talking about the sixth, or the Lexington Avenue line, or just the more commonplace description of those lines?
Well, the Lexington Avenue line here is under Park Avenue South.
Broadway line.
But that doesn't matter, it's still the Lexington.
Can we just say the 6 train?
Okay,
subway.
that's straight.
How
Yeah,
about
the 6th train
a
and
relevant
the,
subway?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we don't have to go through the whole map.
6th train and the, what was it, the
Theory, the R
and
can get you there.
And the.
R and the W.
I'm showing my age, I guess.
And, you know,
It's not
what kind of cooking
that's near
around.
R and W, is near Madison Square.
Yeah.
Whoops, I'm mixing up my.
Yeah,
R and W. And then
near Madison Square and and it's the
Train, singular.
the 6th at Park Avenue South.
Well, the sixth train at East 28th Street.
Yeah, it's at Park Avenue South and East 28th Street, East 23rd Street also.
The sixth train
that's
at
fine
East
the way it is.
28.
Pick up on highway.
Yeah.
Well, except west and east.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess,
No,
We
no,
are-
move the Park Avenue to after the sixth train.
You can take the A train.
and the sixth train at
Park Avenue.
Park Avenue.
South.
Okay, and,
South, yeah.
And East 28th Street.
Well, it's both, at both, East 23rd and East 28th Street.
and Tanya, you had a comment.
Yeah, I was just, when I read the entire resolution, I like it, it's just that it seems to be very heavy on the health facilities that are being impacted. Do we have any interest in perhaps adding something about the quality of life for the neighbors that live in the area from honking or congestion that could ensue from the increased traffic? So it's impacting not just the corridor for ambulances or fire, it's also impacting quality of life. Would that be something we would want to include?
I mean, yeah, I'm certainly amenable to that if anybody wants to.
Yeah, because think about it, you have all this congestion on the corners and such, and a lot of additional traffic, and then you're talking about not only fumes, but pedestrians being at risk and honking and all of that.
And no, you don't have to convince anyone in this room that honking is a problem. So.
Could we add another whereas
Yeah, so.
regarding that?
I
Just
think,
remember where to add it.
Very cool.
Before you go any further, could you just pluralize streets on line 41? So we can finish that correction.
yeah, I think it's a great idea, Tanya. We could do that right now.
All right, thanks.
R&W trains at West 23rd Street?
Correct.
Yeah,
There's a W?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know. Local.
It runs from Whitehall up to, Story.
And the end too, if we really want to get this.
Yeah.
technical.
Tanya, do you want to recommend text?
Yeah, sure. We could start with whereas.
Okay.
With the-
Also, sorry to interrupt, but also which line?
Let me see, let's take a look.
Perhaps I say right above where you are now, after FDNY battalion and above conventional.
Right.
So after FDNY battalion.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, then.
Okay, so right here.
Yeah.
Right. It would be whereas increased traffic will impact neighbors, pedestrians, etc., in quality of life ways, such as noise, congestion, also fumes, but it's not fumes. What word can we use besides fumes?
Pollution.
Pollution and possible risk and that's it, I guess. I guess we could just leave it at that. But I'm happy to get suggestions from everyone.
We might want to add something like airborne particulate pollution, because noise pollution is another.
Right.
pollution.
Okay.
Do we want to say negatively impact?
Negatively impact. Sounds good. Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome.
And I might flip congestion and noise so that it's congestion, comma, noise and airborne particulate.
Great.
Pollution. Maybe get rid of that comma. Then it's both. Out.
Larry, I'd like to add something to the whereas beginning on line 45. This says, whereas these mass transit alternatives will likely be insufficient to ameliorate the significant construction traffic impacts described above. I'd like to add right after the whereas, with, construction of the Second Avenue subway line.
Is this a new
On
whereas?
45, on 45, right after the whereas.
Okay, so whereas,
With, continuing, delays to the construction of the Second Avenue subway, which is put in parentheses, T-train, a comma. That'll slip that in there and, which is an ongoing theme. And it also makes it more imperative that there really aren't any existing mass transit alternatives.
Sandy,
And just that this is states it's construction traffic. I thought we were concerned with long-term traffic.
That's right. I agree.
Construction.
So just take out the word construction then. Or construction traffic.
Right,
yeah, this is for both. We're
for
asking
both. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move.
Second,
oh, okay. Okay, so this is okay, never mind.
Okay, we will now take a vote on the motion to accept this resolution by roll call. When your name is called, please answer A, nay, abstain, or not entitled. Brendan will conduct the vote by roll call as well as declare the results of the vote.
Okay. Majid Abdul Samad,
In favor.
Tanya Arias,
In favor.
Victoria Benatar. Okay. Jim Collins.
Yes.
Maya Donahue,
In favor.
Alf Militek,
In favor.
Richard Mintz, I don't see. Larry Shire,
In favor?
Sandra Sherrod,
Not entitled.
okay. Letty Simon,
In favor.
Susan Steinberg,
in favor.
Mark Thompson,
In favor.
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
and James Vera.
In favor.
With 11 committee members in favor and 1 member not entitled, this resolution passes.
Terrific. Thank you all. That was great editing on the fly. And that'll be passed off to transportation next. And they will be on Monday, April 7th, transportation is gonna look at that resolution. We're now gonna move on to our next agenda item, presentation from CB6 Planning Fellow on loading zones. So, Chuan is here with us. We're gonna actually bring you up to the table, I think, here, because the microphone is here. I have been privileged enough to see a preview of this, and it's a really thoughtful approach to how cities can think about distributing loading zones. So I'm really excited for this.
Much needed.
Please have a seat.
Susan, I don't think you really wanted to give up that seat.
Oh, you can, okay.
I don't think you really wanted to give up that seat. You seem tied to it.
I'm going to share my screen.
You can look into the
Or
camera.
you to a panel so that we can actually share your screen.
Yeah, you should get a panelist invite on Zoom.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, she's reached squared away.
I didn't see it, sorry.
Yeah, so if you click,
So, but it's in Mandarin.
yeah, like the green.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will start. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Shen Huang, and I'm honored to present my work as a community planning fellow. Tonight, I will guide you through a data-driven framework for addressing curb space conflicts within Manhattan Community District 6. This presentation is divided into two major sections. First, where we should act, and second, how we can design solutions. In the first half, I will introduce a new model I developed to prioritize neighborhood loading zones interventions. And in the second half, I will share 3 design proposals. Tailored specifically for CD6, focusing on new approach to time, transport network, and digital technologies. So why does this matter? Imagine walking down East 28th Street near Bellevue Hospital during rush hour. Delivery trucks double parked, pedestrians squeezed into traffic, horns blaring. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a crisis. In fact, 32% of 311 complaints are linked to curb conflicts. Freight trucks emit 15 to 80% more carbon dioxide during peak hours, and lower income residents often face longer delivery delays and greater exposure to pedestrian hazards. When we step back, we see overlapping crises. In areas like Murray Hill, population density exceeds 118,000 residents per square mile, 48% above the Manhattan average. Meanwhile, e-commerce continues to surge, creating more freight activity, while rideshare growth adds further pressure. And in a district defined by historical buildings, narrow streets create real infrastructure constraints. Given these challenges, the central question becomes, can CD6 reimagine its curbs as a dynamic, equitable corridor that serve over 100,000 residents, support e-commerce growth, and lead the city's transition to climate-neutral mobility? I think the answer is yes. Let's dive in. To begin, I broke my research down into 3 key questions: where to act, how to design, and how to implement solutions. To answer the where and how, I built a 5-step approach: variable selection, data collection, model development, and also massive case study and determine the feasible design proposals. Despite New York City's wealth of open data, census records, and 311 reports, no single metric existed to help us directly identify curb optimization priorities. So I created a custom scoring model built around 6 core variables: population density, sidewalk blockage complaints, freight intensity, proximity to existing new loading zones, road width constraints, and pedestrian volume. These variables were selected through urban planning literature, firsthand observation, and some discussion I have with my community planning fellow. I use AI and the machine learning regression model to calculate the variable weights. And after testing the model in CD6, CD4, and CD8, it showed strong predictive ability and neighborhood-wide adaptability. There is still room to improve, but the model gives us a solid foundation. Using this model, I identified 6 priority street segments in CD6. For example, it's the 28th Street in Kiss Bay, scored 83.94, largely due to its hospital access and high freight congestion. I mapped and validated each of the 6 sites in the field, and full results are available in my reports. Having identified where to act, I turn to the question of how to design. Before offering solutions, I drew insights from the book Curb the Chaos, which outlines 4 major problems in current curbside dynamics: freight congestions, competing uses, enforcement gaps, and environment concerns. To address this, CD6 needs a data-driven, multidimensional curb management strategy grounded in global best practice. After extensive research, I developed 3 design proposals. The first one focused on time-share dynamic loading zones. Inspired by New York City's off-hour trunk delivery program launched in 2015 by NYC DOT and RPI, this initiative shifted delivery to nighttime hours between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. Over 1,100 businesses participated by 2022, resulting in a 30% reduction in daytime congestion, faster deliveries, and reduced emissions. To adapt this to CD6, we can reserve curb space during peak hours for passengers, buses, and pedestrian zones, and convert it to freight only, loading during off-peak hours using retractable bollards and digital signage. This strategy could significantly reduce double parking, improve freight turnover, and cut carbon dioxide emissions. The second proposal addresses the transport network itself, waterbound freight combined with micro hubs. New York City's Blue Highway initiative leveraged East River barges to reduce trunk traffic. Meanwhile, in London, micro hubs located in central neighborhoods have enabled large trunks to transport packages to low-emission vehicles like e-cargo bikes. These hubs have cut failed deliveries by 25% and reduced emissions by 15%. City 6 geography makes it an ideal candidate for a hybrid system. We could establish micro hubs in Keys Bay and Stuyvesant Town and use the East River for upstream freight. Dedicated cargo bike lanes could connect hubs to retail corridors and senior housing. Supported by partnerships with logistic companies like UPS and Amazon, ideally, we can see a future with fewer large chunks, better last mile delivery, and alignment with New York City's climate goals. Last but not least, the third proposal, which focuses on new technology, smart curb management and digital reservations. In Amsterdam, the Coding the Curbs platform allows logistic companies to book curb space in real time through an app. IoT sensors and dynamic pricing ensure efficiency and adaptability. The result of this application is successful and obvious. Similarly, Philadelphia launched a pilot program introducing smart loading zones in Center City, enabling delivery companies to reserve curb space via a smartphone app with real-time availability updates. Seattle developed the Curb Data Specification CDS, a digital tool to pilot and scale dynamic curb zones, optimizing commercial loading activity and informing curb management policies. In CD6, we could implement app-based curb booking, apply dynamic pricing to discourage peak hour use, and use real-time sensors for enforcement. This tool could highly reduce unauthorized parking, streamline delivery operations, and reduce emissions by cutting idle times and rerouting freight efficiency. In conclusion, the curb is not just leftover space, it's a lifeline. With these strategies, we can turn congestions into coordination, chaos into clarity, and emissions into efficiency. This work is not just about managing traffic, it's about shaping a safer, fairer, and greener future for all CD6 residents. Thank you very much for your attention.
Whoa.
That was great.
Where have you been all my life?
What else can we use you for?
Oh my God.
You should publish this.
Don't let it go.
Publish it in a, I don't know, an urban planning journal or something.
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to read there's a more robust research paper too. This is really pretty
Summary.
just the summary of the work she has done. Are you prepared to take a couple questions?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, our website, I mean, can we look at it, I mean, not just, is your oral presentation written up? We can have it along with the slides.
Yeah, I think I made the slides just for today, and I also have a report.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
Great.
Where do you go to school?
I'm learning in the new school in Parsons.
Okay, at Parsons?
Yeah.
Sandy.
And sorry, I mean, fantastic presentation, thank you. Did you actually identify where we might have distribution hubs in CB6?
Yes, I have, but because the time limits, I didn't open up this. Yeah. So I think for the micro hubs, I think the ideal place might be the Stuyvesant Town and Keys Bay.
Where? Stuyvesant Town and Kips Bay.
A lot of empty retail space.
Oh.
So is it a possibility of making, I think in London, they use retail, there's a retail portion to the hubs. I just wondered if you actually had, this is the best place to put one of these and
Yeah, I think
see.
it has the strong potential to be used, I think. I will write it down.
Because again, we have so much empty retail space. If there was a way, if there was sort of a synergy between the roadside space and the shop itself that you were able to identify, we would go out there and advocate to use it. Thank you. Thank you.
And then,
There you go.
oh, a question from the,
When they're
Public?
doing the reservation, because I'm thinking there's a difference between unloading truck and packages or unloading, say if there's a construction project going on and they have big heavy things that they're unloading.
Yeah.
Everyone competes in the same app for the space, or is it if there's a work permit going on for like, if it's a hospital or something at the Alexandria Center, do they get priority access because they have work permits going on to book the space as opposed to somebody coming around like a rogue that will say, let me get that reservation and then you have to buy that reservation from me?
well, I think these are,
Secondary market.
yeah, I mean, these are legitimate policy questions that we can deal with. I don't think we addressed how they do it in Amsterdam, with the,
Yeah,
With-
I think they don't unpack this as well.
but yeah, I think the, secondary markets and it being almost space being scalped is something we
Yeah.
can certainly address in the design.
And certainly aren't construction sites are different than loading and unloading. It's a whole different series of requirements. So I think if you're in the construction, you then have a different system. Yeah, I get it.
I have noticed, it could be me that wasn't together, but I do notice the Amazon, the electric delivery bikes with the trucks on the back, and I don't have a clue where they just appear in the bike lanes and I don't have a clue where they are. If there is a hub somewhere already in CB six.
I think they've been using them to get into the congestion zone without
Yeah,
having larger vehicles. So I don't know that there is one.
and
I don't know where
sometimes
they just appear
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
Maybe next time when I met
Yeah.
someone, I will have an interview with them.
sometimes the micro hub is basically, let's take all our crap and throw it on the street. And have the
Yeah.
drivers pick it up from there and take it
Yeah.
wherever.
That's why we're coming up with a data-driven model to address all these concerns. I wanna, get, Tanya, you had a question.
Yeah, hi. First of all, this is the most fun I've had in months listening to you. I swear that this is something I have been lobbying for in my own mind for a very long time. I like the idea of the off hours deliveries. How are you finding that would work with some businesses who would prefer to just have them during the day? Because that seems to be a sticking, because drivers don't want to work at night, or it could be union workers. How is that working in your model? From 7 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're looking for this, the city to incentivize, these things. I don't think this research project here in front of us is quite at that level of granularity where we're kind of
Okay.
the secondary policy questions that are gonna come up from these proposals.
I think it's a brilliant proposal. And really, thank you.
Thank you.
And, Majed,
Thank you, and thank you for the great presentation. Curious if you've taken stock of city agencies' plans. I don't know if there's much that's public, but EDC has talked about this. A number of agencies have explored plans for mobility hubs, micromobility, last mile delivery. Was it part of your analysis to survey existing plans?
Yeah, I try to find some existing, can you repeat your question again? Sorry. I'm not sure if I get the right. Sorry.
no, sorry, you go, Majed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what you have here is great. You're citing case studies.
Yeah.
Are you aware, did you research any plans the city have beyond this for mobility hubs throughout the city?
Yeah, I have. So I go through, I think over 30 case studies, and I already have a selection. So I think this one, things I have chosen here is more adaptable to CD6. Yeah.
Got it.
Larry.
Thank you.
With regard to the blue water hubs, the EDC has mentioned at some of our meetings that they were looking at the vicinity of 23rd Street where that parking garage is, which we were discussing earlier today as a possible place where you could transfer freight between a barge and a bicycle.
Bringing stuff in the barge, you're gonna need to waylay it somewhere other than just bicycles.
Or you could store it in the garage and then you pick it up.
Maya.
It was a wonderful presentation, thank you. Something that, I had two things now because of what Larry said, but I was thinking as you're talking about the blue highways, I think it'll be interesting for us to see it also in the context of congestion pricing, because I'm sure we're getting a lot of money from the freight coming in. Especially as we're seeing reports that a lot of trucking is not like tried to circumnavigate Manhattan, they're still going through Manhattan, so it's revenue loss that we should consider. But I also wanted to emphasize that you mentioned a lot with that this will, in your various suggested plans, match more with New York City's climate change policies and being more green. I do agree that these do, but I also think the general uptick of people purchasing online is kind of antithetical to that. And so I think while this does help in a lot of ways with the microtransit electric powered like vehicles or whatever, we should also, as a larger focus of like, how do we sometimes combat all the purchasing online, all the extra packaging and that kind of stuff in our community, and probably trying to bring back space to retail and brick and mortar. But wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have any other committee members? In the interest of time, I think we are gonna keep it moving. Thank you again. I think that was terrific. I know that the Transportation Committee is gonna steal that econometric model and use it to design those standing zones.
Yeah, and claim it as their own.
And 100% for this thank you again.
Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 5, the discussion of the statement of district needs and budget requests. I am very proud of this committee because many of you did the homework. If you go into the Google Doc, there are several hands in there making a lot of really great points. And so I think we have a well-revised statement of district needs compared to what we had last month. So I think for now, we kind of maybe just, go through some of the proposed amendments. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this. I think it'll be ready to go to budget in April. Is that right? April?
Well, I mean, ultimately, like September, October, when everything gets voted upon, but yeah, I mean, as soon as April, if budget wants to look at it, that's it.
I mean, I think, I read through it and I was impressed with the changes everyone made, thank you. And then it was like Susan updated the AMI requirements, so they're more modern. And Sandy added a lot of great stuff to really put it into 2024 as opposed to 2018. So I guess I want to open the floor to the committee to see if there's any other questions, any thoughts anyone had on it. Any further inputs?
Well, it has to be modified so that all DSNY gets eliminated, because it's way beyond the sanitation garage.
I thought we took that out.
When I went in, I saw it, so I struck it out.
Oh, that's, yeah, but I saw that you did. Okay, good.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
this
that shouldn't be.
portion, I still,
Yeah,
Wait,
that's the one.
what version are you looking at? Are you looking at the version I just sent you this evening?
Are you using the Google Doc?
I'm using a Google Doc that I
Then
had
it should
on
be
my.
updated.
I didn't have access to the primary Google Doc. I wasn't able to edit it, so I copied it and made changes myself.
I saw changes, no, you were definitely named, you were definitely the author of some of the changes on, I believe, what is in front
No,
of us.
that DSNY thing, I'm almost certain is out, or was out.
Here we go now.
Take it out now.
Yeah, let's just take it out now.
yeah,
Lots of cooks.
Yeah, but it was really pretty thematically consistent. I mean,
Does it have the paragraphs I added about, the use of the MSBI?
No.
No.
okay, was there a different document?
I'm gonna send it to you as well right now. Stand
Yeah.
by.
Well, can you highlight it orally?
I just
Well,
added
I
two
think-
paragraphs.
Yeah, I
I
think
made
in
various edits throughout the document because I had no editorial rights on the original and I thought that was the old one. And that's the one that I sent with Maya and Sandy. But
Would you like to share it with all of us?
yeah, I'm gonna,
Well,
I sent it to you
yeah,
already.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have that one? The one I sent you
I
just?
do, because I definitely saw
evening.
your changes. So I think in the interest of time, I'm gonna merge the edits that were made into one document. And further invite the committee to look at it. Everyone should have access to it. And yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about the confusion, Jim, but I thought you added a lot of really important stuff about like, public amenities being used properly and things of that nature. And so I will merge the edits, again, invite everybody here to make any further edits or raise any questions. In the meantime, next month, the April meeting, we will have what will hopefully be the final version. And we can kind of put this away and pass this off to budget after the next meeting.
Yeah.
That's like a point.
Only
Brendan, you have a
requested,
question?
yeah, just more request than a question, just to make sure that the office is also shared on that, so that way we know what to share ahead of April's meeting.
Tanya.
Yeah, Jim, I also noticed that you and I had a back and forth on the level of rent burdened in our district. And we had said it was around 30%. I'm still seeing 20%. I'm still seeing 20% here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a Google Doc duplication situation.
She and I were working off one, because I thought we had been tasked to deal with this. And since I couldn't access the document that you sent me, I made a copy and started editing it myself. So you should see it. And here, I'll just read the paragraph we wrote about the,
Well, Gabe's gonna
Yes.
circulate
okay.
Yeah.
a combined version, so maybe in the interest of time, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
My stuff is in green apparently on this.
it makes sense. Okay, so moving on to our final agenda item for the night, discussion of charter revision commissions and their potential impact on zoning regulations.
Jesus,
There are
I
two
almost
pieces.
had a heart attack.
Yeah, so, I guess a quick, background on this. The mayor and the city council are both initiating CRCs, charter commissions. They are at odds, potentially at odds with each other. It is possible that the the mayor's CRC in particular is designed, being open with a design or focus on perhaps amending the amount of input that boards like ours have over land use decisions. Perhaps making ULURP more symbolic than anything. And so we have a memo sent to us by George Janes, and we're gonna, if we can put that up on the screen. And the reason I guess we're bringing this up is to, one, and familiarize everybody with what is happening, and two, invite everyone here to take the time, do a bit of a dive, and add your feedback to the public process before, I believe it's April 9th.
April 9th?
Is that? April
Can you
9th?
send this?
This came out.
Yeah, this was sent around.
Yeah, I sent it today,
Yeah.
so.
It was
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Email like 10:30 or something.
It's on the other Google Doc.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I almost had a heart attack. It's like a free-for-all. They're doing away with ULURP. I mean, it's like, I don't know, FARs of 22 or whatever it is that they're going for. I mean, it's terrifying.
Sandy.
And sorry, just, there's the Charter Commission, the last public one is in Staten Island on April 9th. So, the one that's happened in Manhattan, the one for Manhattan has already happened. We did not participate. So, John, who has his hand raised, is going to be our sort of 21st.
Sandy asked me, to look into this on Friday. I got in touch with Katie Loeb, but in, Councilmember Rivera's office to find out what they knew of it. And, Katie's a straight shooter and said, we really don't know what's really happening in the city council, but she's putting me in touch with someone who we'll hear from tomorrow, I think, to say what the city council's charter revision group is doing. Then I talked to Robin Forst, who promised to put me in touch with someone in the mayor's office who knows what's going on. I think the fear here is, as Sandy and others have expressed it, is that, things that come out of the Charter Commission could go onto the ballot, and once something's on the ballot, I said this to Katie and Forrest, once something's on the ballot, it usually passes. So we have to find out what's going on, and no one seems to be aware. That's where things stand. I wish I had something different to say.
And the one for Manhattan, was it February something or other, Sandy?
Yeah, and it was barely publicized.
Yeah, I had no idea this was happening. This is terrifying.
So Sandy and I will stay on top of this, and try to get a sense of what's going on. And I think, I'm sure Katie will have talked to Carlina about it. So at least we're raising some concern. And once I have something, Sandy and the office will get it around.
And one of the concerns that we have is we really, without a resolution, we can't give very robust feedback, or we can do it as private citizens, but not as CB6. So it's such a short time frame. We're just really asking people to look through it carefully and give feedback.
In our private capacity.
For now.
Brendan.
Just one thing to note for the record, just for everyone to be aware, and we're advertising this in our e-blasts, our e-newsletters, etc. Wednesday, April 23rd, there is a Manhattan public input session on housing and land use. Wednesday, April 23rd. I can send, we're advertising this in our newsletters and e-blasts, but I can also send information about this to the committee, because clearly.
Please do.
Because clearly this is of interest.
Is that council or mayor?
Mayor, the mayoral one.
Mayoral.
Yeah, I know it's confusing that there being two of these at the same time.
Larry.
Hi. This is very concerning from a historical point of view. Community boards came into being in the mid-1960s, just a few years after the zoning resolution of 1961 was adopted, which totally reworked the way zoning works here in the city. And it was considered important. In fact, the number one assignment for community boards was to deal with land use issues. ULURP, became one of the mechanisms for doing that, but the very existence of community boards is now being threatened, the whole purpose of it. And I was wondering if it might be possible to make a board resolution with a very simple statement reiterating why community boards are vital, and that and to remind the public that the public's input through community boards was considered vital in the beginning, and it hasn't changed. I just put that out there for discussion.
Well,
Who would it be directed?
yeah, I mean, we'd have to put it together and,
Apologies.
sorry.
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut everyone
We'll
off.
recognize you.
I'm trying to just, I would take a slightly different approach personally. I think, you're right. But I think it would be a stronger argument to talk to the importance of public comment and organized community board comment in the ULURP process, as opposed to just the importance of community boards, because I think that kind of doesn't address the underlying concern that might be exposed here.
I'm on board with what you're saying. I was just trying to put out the possibility of having a statement at next month's full board. It doesn't have to be elaborate, doesn't have to be detailed, maybe only cover 2 or 3 points total. But I think we should go on record in defense of our existence.
That's a good point. Could I add one more thing, sir? I think that it would be, since we don't have enough detail about what is being proposed here, and we won't have enough detail, we could speak broadly about the importance of community engagement and relating city policy, city governance to actual localized informed discussion. And we can do so broadly and have something that we can actually try to adopt at the next board meeting, if possible, Sandy, on the 9th.
I think that's great.
I would couch it in the sense that you're basically amending the city charter to remove community board. The charter only has 2 functions for community boards, as you know. It's land use and budget priorities. Those are the only 2. Everything else is an addition. And by moving on this particular item, land use, which is it, the mayor or the other group?
Well, we don't have to respond to anything.
No, wait, let me finish.
Okay.
Is this the mayor that's doing this, or is this the other one?
There's two. There's two.
I know, which one is doing it?
We suspect the mayor.
Okay.
But we actually don't know, and I want to caution
Right, but
everybody.
they're basically encroaching on a government of the people per se, because we're all appointed by locals. We're all appointed by council members.
Sandy, then
and the
Tanya.
president.
And what the Charter Commission is tasked with doing is addressing the housing crisis. That's what the task
The
is.
mayor is one.
Which might affect the
Right.
change.
So, right, it's, how the charter can combat the city's generational housing crisis, including a 1.4% rental vacancy rate. So
Okay.
that's what they're addressing. That's what our comments should then be addressing. How are we as community boards work towards that?
All right.
Tanya.
This is a
So-
great segue to what I was going to bring up. When I read this, I couldn't believe what I was reading, because with the excuse of having to provide affordable housing, What this looked like to me, it was like a feeding frenzy of piranhas, of developers being able to do whatever they want, whenever they want it, and go as high as they want. And I think that they use this this affordable housing as a bit of a smokescreen, because honestly, it just doesn't. If you do away with ULURP and you do away with the community, you're stripping your ability to make an impact on affordable housing. And it's just going to be some sort of, you know, token little, here's a little couple of affordable housing units in this building, but now I can go up, you know, with an FAR of 21 or 20. So this is serious, guys. I can't tell you how much it impacted me when I read it. I was in my mother's hospital room reading it while she slept, and I almost fell off my chair. This is serious. We have to do something about this. But
Okay,
that's my 2 cents.
No, well, I mean, 100%. I think we all agree that our work is important, or we wouldn't be here. And we all want to preserve a place for that. I think pursuant to Sandy's point, if we are going to say something, which should be how we have a role to play in resolving this crisis, which we obviously do. And if you ever listen to us, the EDC thinks it's all we care about. But perhaps something that not only says that we are against being, you know, neutered as a body, but highlight the role that we play in producing positive results as well. Because I think the case being made is that, and this really doesn't apply to CB6, but it perhaps applies in other CBs across the city, that these are, the bodies are obstructing necessary housing growth. And that's the case being made by the administration. So if we do say something, it should perhaps anticipate that argument.
Sure, positive statement.
We're about positivity here.
Yeah.
So everybody's prepared to reach out to their, to the, we have the address, right? To the CD, the CRC website, is that to the separate websites?
Yeah.
So yes, step one, anyone who has strong feelings about this, please, in your private capacity, reach out to both CRCs.
And I also think that, you know, as Gabe said, highlighting how we have, as a board, advocated for housing. We can do that because it's so obvious in all the resolutions that we've done. I can format that into something that goes to, you know, to the CRC, because it's definitely, our resolutions prove that point. So we probably still need an overall resolution, but without any information, it's very hard to put it together. So we can put together a letter and submit testimony that says how we as a community board have been advocating for housing and how we help to generate it when, you know, it's been something we've done continuously, so that can get read into the testimony.
And as soon as I have something, I'm sure I'll get something from the city council. I'm not as confident from the mayor's office, but as soon as I have something, I'll get it around to everyone.
Just have to get the A committee to vote on it first before the 9th.
Right.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
So. All right, so I just want to clarify, Sandy, we're not going to be generating this statement of the community board as a resolution, but we're going to have in summary form a letter from you that goes in maybe with some examples to this proposition that this is what this board has stood for, and that'll be the approach.
I think because we really don't have enough meetings before April 9th to generate a resolution ahead of time.
Right, the housing committee, you don't think?
It's after April 9th, the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, you know, there's always the
Why
possibility of
wouldn't we
having
just bring it
emergency.
up? Well,
an
we could either have
emergency
an
meeting.
emergency or bring it up directly at the board meeting.
I
It
mean,
doesn't
it's-
have to go through a committee.
In other words, a draft of an example of a statement. It doesn't have to be decided now, but just a thought that you could convene an executive committee on an emergency basis to get this to the board.
And I thought I could do it with a resolution if it's really based on the work that we.
Well, yeah, you absolutely can.
You do both.
But yeah, if you want a resolution as well, so that we can submit that formally into testimony, we could draft that.
And I think when we know a little bit more about what they're trying to do, we can have a more robust resolution.
So maybe we shoot for May, so maybe next month here, maybe we can have 3 days before our next meeting, we'll have a reso.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it more timely though? I mean, why would
Yeah.
we not to adopt something on the 9th?
On the night of April 9th.
Yeah, at the board
I
meeting.
agree. I agree.
If this is such an existential threat, we shouldn't, wait.
What's the parliamentary route? That's really the only question.
And
It
the
could-
resolution is going to.
It could be introduced as a new business.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is, can it be circulated in advance of the full board as a resolution that people can study before voting on it?
I think so. April
Sure.
9th is 2 weeks. Away.
When do you think this letter will be drafted? Because we might want to use this as like a rider to your letter and circulate it to the board, so everyone's aware.
And.
I'm not rushing, I'm just trying to figure out how we align this.
Late into my maybe.
11 PM, yeah.
Thursday, say Thursday.
Okay. I'm sure we can have an initial draft by then.
And also feel free to circulate this for input if you want, if you think it
Yeah,
would
I
be
mean-
helpful.
And at this point, it's just very difficult to know what they're doing.
Well, let's not assume something that isn't yet in existence and work with this bare bones approach for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for the robust discussion. Next item, Chair's report. I think I'm gonna waive Chair's report unless, Majid's here unless he has anything to say.
But still,
I don't see.
he's
Okay, all right. Any old or new business? Oh. So I have a motion to adjourn.
motion is adjourned.
Okay. Good night,
Adjourned.
everyone.
8:10 PM.